Tony, ever the gentleman, escorted them home, his departure marked by the customary safety check call, a ritual as comforting as it was routine. And so, another day wrapped up, a blend of new experiences, budding friendships, and the healing power of laughter and Nyakiringa. On that serene Sunday, the ladies, having paid their dues to the Presbyterian church in the vicinity, a ritual observed with the same sporadic commitment as their gym memberships, decided to ignite their culinary passions. The agenda? A barbecue that promised to be a modest affair, just the trio and a feast fit for a small army. On the menu were roast chicken with kachumbari, spicy sausages that threatened to set off smoke alarms, Caesar salad, because health, a normal salad, because obligation, and homemade burgers that Diane swore were gourmet despite resembling geological specimens. As the aroma of roasting meat wafted through the neighborhood, a silent siren call, their neighbors began to emerge, lured by the scent and the rare spectacle of sunshine. Diane, ever the ambassador of goodwill, floated the idea of inviting the neighbors over. The more the merrier, Alice declared, a mantra she applied with equal enthusiasm to guests and servings of spicy sausage. Diane, in a move that blurred the lines between invitation and culinary taunt, called out to Mama Karimi through the fence. "We're having Nyakiringa. Care to join the feast?" The response was swift and affirmative, powered by the universal language of grilled meat. "We can practically taste it from here. Baba Karimi has given his royal assent. Open the gates, we're coming over." And so, the afternoon transformed into an impromptu gathering, with Baba Karimi, a man whose storytelling prowess was rivaled only by his guitar skills, and Mama Karimi, a former country music songstress who had traded microphones for motherhood. Together, they turned the barbecue into an unexpected concert, serenading the group with country classics as the sun dipped below the horizon. The scene was something out of a feel-good movie, complete with laughter, stories that meandered more than the local river, and music that reminded everyone of simpler times. Baba Karimi's guitar, an instrument that had seen better days but still held tune, became the centerpiece, around which tales of youthful escapades and dreams were shared. Mama Karimi's voice, though slightly rusty from years of disuse, carried melodies that warmed the heart as much as the open fire warmed their faces. As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the gathering around the fire felt less like neighbors sharing a meal and more like an impromptu family reunion, complete with the eccentric uncles, the talented cousins, and the matriarchs who held stories of days gone by. The evening ended not just with satisfied appetites but with the kind of contentment that comes from shared laughter, spontaneous singing, and the realization that sometimes, the best gatherings are those that are unplanned, unfolding by the magic of good food, great company, and the universal love for a well-strung guitar. After the heartwarming symphony of the barbecue, the departure of the neighbors and Alice marked the transition into a tranquil evening, the kind of quiet that suggests even. The crickets were out on a Sunday stroll. Then, as if on cue to break the silence, Tony rang up Diane, sparking off a conversation that seemed to defy the laws of time and phone battery life. Tony, ever the social coordinator, was keen on orchestrating a meetup that sounded more like a diplomatic summit than a casual Friday night out. He extended an invite for Diane to meet his galaxy of friends, with the assurance that Alice, Faith, and the illustrious Robert would form part of the constellation. The subplot of this social gathering involved Brian, a man previously known for his flirtatious charge reminiscent of a bull in a china shop, a strategy as subtle as a foghorn in a library. Tony, in a moment of rare foresight, decided to brief Brian on Faith's recent tumultuous journey, to ensure his approach was more gentle breeze than Hurricane Brian. Brian, showing a depth previously obscured by his bold flirtations, expressed understanding and empathy, sharing his personal connection to the issue through his sister's experiences. Their conversation wrapped up with the kind of goodnights usually reserved for the end of a long-distance call in a 90s romantic comedy. Come Monday, Diane was in the throes of professional hustle, assisting a colleague with a pitch that could either elevate them to office legends or relegate them to coffee machine gossip. Despite a minor traffic hiccup at Chiromo, a place notorious for testing the patience of saints, Diane arrived, her punctuality as reliable as a Swiss watch, possibly because she treated morning traffic like a competitive sport. Her colleague, perhaps inspired by Diane's legendary organizational skills, had transformed the boardroom into a command center, complete with the holy trinity of meetings, coffee, tea, and biscuits. The fruit was a nod to health enthusiasts who they knew would just eat the biscuits anyway. As they rehearsed their presentation, Faith delivered news of her job offer like a herald of joy, followed by Alice's triumphant announcement of her long-awaited promotion, a double cause for celebration that promised more excitement than their usual Friday nights. The client's early arrival did little to ruffle the team, thanks to the preemptive caffeine and pastry buffer. Peter, Diane's colleague, spearheaded the presentation with the finesse of a seasoned Broadway performer, leaving the clients nodding more than bobbleheads in a car dashboard. The promise of a decision by week's end left the team in a state of cautious optimism, the kind usually reserved for waiting on a particularly unpredictable elevator. As the day wound down, plans for an after-work celebration took shape, a small but significant acknowledgement of personal victories, with the promise of a more fitting weekend celebration. It was a reminder that amidst the hustle of professional life, personal achievements and connections were the real cause for celebration, a sentiment that would fuel them through the week, regardless of the client's decision. That evening, the ladies descended upon Java like the heroines of a much-needed mini-celebration saga, ready to combat the trials of workday woes with the mightiest weapon known to humanity: good food. The venue was Java, a place that promised culinary delights without the weekend warrior crowds, offering a sanctuary for the gastronomically adventurous on a weekday. Their table, strategically positioned in the epicenter of the room, was an island of joviality in a sea of casual diners. The waiters, possibly infused with an extra dose of cheerfulness or simply amused by the ladies' animated chatter, navigated the space with the grace of ballet dancers avoiding errant toddlers. Diane and Alice, in a move that could only be described as a culinary ballet, opted for the mushroom chicken breast, a dish so elegantly balanced with garden salad and roast potatoes it could have been a still life painting. Alice, not to be outdone in the steaks, chose the pepper steak, accompanied by the ever-faithful garden salad and a side of chips, declaring her allegiance to both Team Vegetable and Team Carb. Faith, in a pescatarian pivot, went for the grilled fish with garlic butter sauce, a choice that whispered of seaside escapades and whispered less of her equal love for salad and chips. Dessert was a diplomatic affair, with Diane opting for the single hot fudge, a choice as classic as it was comforting. Alice, in a bold move, went for the banana split, a dish that dared to ask, why have one flavor when you can have them all? Faith, not to be outdone, selected the chocolate chip cookie sundae, a dessert that combined childhood nostalgia with adult indulgence. Their conversation ebbed and flowed, covering the gamut from the intricacies of love-life logistics to the minefield of workplace politics. By the end of the evening, they were so suffused with good food and good company that the mere thought of anything beyond horizontal relaxation seemed a Herculean task. Alice, with a grace that belied her food coma, made her retreat to her car and home, while Diane and Faith, bonded in culinary satisfaction, headed back to their shared abode. In the midst of their departure, Tony rang, a timing that suggested either psychic abilities or just really good luck. Diane, ever the master of multitasking, navigated the farewell and phone call with the finesse of a seasoned diplomat. "We're just leaving Java. Can I call you back from the fortress of solitude and digestion?" she half-joked, setting the stage for a post-dinner debrief. Alice's entrance at home was promptly greeted by a call from Robert, turning her threshold crossing into a scene from a rom-com. "Just walking through the door," she announced, a statement that could have meant anything from "I'm home to prepare for tales of culinary conquests." Their conversation meandered pleasantly into the night, culminating in plans for a celebratory dinner the following evening, a gesture that had Alice mentally reviewing her wardrobe for the perfect outfit. Thus, the evening wrapped up with promises of future gatherings, a testament to the enduring power of good food, good friends, and the occasional well-timed phone call to bridge distances and celebrate life's little victories. Alice embarked on a nighttime safari to the wilds of her children's bedrooms, discovering her youngest in the land of Nod and her eldest deeply entrenched in the jungles of Black Star, a thriller penned by a Kenyan scribe. Her daughter's current obsession with African literature was so intense, Alice half expected to find her negotiating for book rights in her sleep. Attempts at conversation were as futile as whispering sweet nothings to a brick wall. The book had her daughter in its grip. After bidding a good night to her literature-absorbed offspring with a reminder not to turn into a nocturnal creature, Alice retreated. A brief foray into the digital gossip columns of Facebook ensued, but fatigue soon claimed victory, transforming her from social media sleuth to sleeping beauty in under 10 minutes. The Dawn Chorus saw Alice and Diane at work, exchanging the latest intel on their upcoming social escapades. Diane was off to an auntie's abode, while Alice had plans with Robert that would likely not include a literary debate. Meanwhile, Tony's culinary invite to Diane had to take a rain check due to familial duties, setting the stage for a dinner duel on the morrow. Post-work, Alice executed a transformation rivaled only by superheroes, preparing for her evening rendezvous with Robert, despite Faith's timely reminder that resulted in a fashionable, if slightly flustered, tardiness. Faith, not one to be left out of the social whirlwind, had plans brewing for a Sunday adventure with Brian, proving once again that her social calendar was as packed as a bestseller shelf at a book festival. Alice's arrival at the restaurant was a scene straight out of a rom-com, complete with a parking spot that appeared as if summoned by magic and a colleague's timely entrance that allowed her a moment of reflection and a quick hair and makeup check in a conveniently placed mirror. Inside, the restaurant buzzed with the energy of a beehive at happy hour, with Alice navigating the sea of patrons like a seasoned captain. Her arrival at Robert's table was marked by a cheek kiss and a chair pull, a gesture so chivalrous it almost made up for her fashionable late entrance. The evening unfolded in a popular Westlands eatery, bustling with the vibrancy of city life, proving once again that the best plans are those slightly awry, peppered with a dash of spontaneity and a sprinkle of social navigation prowess. Alice launched into an evening expedition across the uncharted territories of her offspring's sleeping quarters, finding her youngest lost in dreamland while the elder was consumed by the literary savannah of Black Star, a gem hailing from the Kenyan literary scene. The elder's fixation on African tales was so fervent, Alice half-joked she'd wake up to find her in heated negotiations over book rights, all in her pajamas, wishing her book-devouring progeny a night devoid of turning into a vampire. Alice made her exit. She then dabbled in the art of Facebook sleuthing, only to be swiftly defeated by the Sandman, proving even digital voyeurs need their beauty rest. At the crack of dawn, Alice and Diane were at the grind, swapping tales of impending social intrigue. Diane was set for a familial cameo, while Alice had a date that promised 0 book clubs with Robert. Tony, in the meantime, had to bench his dinner plans with Diane due to a clash with domestic diplomacy, queuing up a culinary showdown for the next evening. After clocking out, Alice morphed with a prowess that would make Clark Kent nod in approval, prepping for her soiree with Robert, despite Faith's well-timed nudge that saw her stylishly late rather than never. Faith herself, ever the social butterfly, had her Sunday booked for an escapade with Brian, showcasing a social diary more crammed than a library during finals week. Alice's restaurant entrance was straight from a Hollywood script, featuring a magically available parking spot and a colleague's perfectly timed arrival that provided a moment for a quick stealthy primping session beside a strategically placed mirror. Inside, the ambience was electric, buzzing like a bar on trivia night, with Alice weaving through the crowd with the skill of a seasoned navigator. Her grand entrance to Robert's table, complete with a genteel cheek kiss and a knightly chair gesture, almost made up for her fashionably late arrival. The scene was set in a bustling Westlands diner, alive with the hum of the city, reminding everyone that sometimes, the best evenings are those lightly sprinkled with a bit of unpredictability and a healthy dose of maneuvering through the social labyrinth. Tony, playing the role of sommelier with a flair, uncorked a bottle of Fleury with the finesse of a magician revealing his final trick, pouring the liquid ruby into glasses as if anointing royalty. Dinner revealed Tony's secret culinary prowess, featuring a sirloin steak that whispered sweet nothings to the sautéed potatoes and serenaded the fresh vegetables, all under the mysterious allure of an unnameable gravy. The Caesar salad was there too, probably wondering if it was overdressed. Dessert was a humble brag of store-bought apple pie and vanilla ice cream, a candid confession of Tony's baking skills or lack thereof. Post-dinner, as they sipped on red wine, Diane braced herself for the talk, a conversation more daunting than a dragon in the living room. It was a leap into the unknown, challenging the age-old doctrine of never ask, never tell that had been the root of many a romantic comedy and tragedy. She was determined to clear the fog of relationship ambiguity, armed with nothing but her courage and a glass of wine. To her astonishment, the conversation unfolded smoother than a spy evading capture. It was a heart-to-heart that didn't end in heartbreak, revealing that they were both navigating the same romantic seas, hoping to dock at the same port. Tony's response was not of words, but a kiss that seemed to pause time, a silent affirmation of mutual desires, ensuring Diane's safe return in a nightly escort home. Tony confirmed his gentleman status, not just in deeds but in ensuring her safe keep within her castle walls. As Diane prepared for bed, the evening's warmth enveloped her, making the digital world's lore fade into insignificance. A final call to Tony, intended as a nightcap to a perfect evening, found his line busy, a brief hiccup in their digital age romance. Yet, as if on cue, Tony's call came through, bookending the night with a promise of dreams filled with more than just sleep. Diane's night ended on a high, her heart sending a round of applause to her friends via text, receiving in return virtual smiles and the comfort of shared joy. The week that followed was a blur of busyness, with phone calls serving as their lifelines, tethering their hearts amidst the chaos of daily life. Diane stepped into Tony's domain, instantly hit by a wave of sense so divine she half expected Gordon Ramsay to pop out and yell at her for being late. There was Tony, ditching his usual superhero cape for something that screamed casually dashing, hovering over a dinner that was playing hard to get almost ready, but not quite. Tony, moonlighting as a wine wizard, popped open a bottle of Fleury with the kind of flair that would make a sommelier weep, serving up glasses of wine like they were liquid crowns. The main event was a sirloin steak so tender it flirted outrageously with the sautéed potatoes and serenaded the veggies under a gravy shrouded in mystery. The Caesar salad sat off to the side, probably having an identity crisis over its dressing. Dessert was Tony's white flag to baking, a store-bought apple pie with ice cream, proudly paraded like a trophy. Then came the talk, a moment Diane anticipated with the kind of dread one reserves for cliffhanger in season finales. Armed with nothing but liquid courage and a resolve to navigate the murky waters of relationship labels, she dove in. Shockingly, the chat was smoother than a con artist at a high school reunion, revealing a mutual yearning for something beyond casual dates. Tony's reply wasn't in words but in a kiss that all but stopped the clock, a silent pact sealed without a single utterance. Tony, ever the knight in shining Uber, made sure Diane got home safe, turning a simple ride into a chivalrous procession back to her fortress. As she settled in for the night, the day's excitement left her too buzzed for the digital world's allure. Attempting a final call to Tony, only to hit his busy signal, felt like the universe's way of adding a dash of suspense to their romance novel. But, like clockwork, Tony rang back, ensuring their story had the perfect closing scene for the night. Diane's evening closed on a crescendo, her heart doing the wave in a stadium of contentment as she exchanged triumphant texts with her squad. The week that unfolded was a whirlwind of calls, proving that even in the busiest times, their newfound connection was the anchor in the storm of daily life. Tony had embarked on a noble quest to the land of family gatherings, immersing himself in the ancient traditions of parental bonding. Meanwhile, at 2:30 p.m. sharp, Faith and Diane set off on their own adventure to the realm of Alice's abode, where Alice's mom had already made herself comfortable, arriving with the punctuality of a seasoned time traveler. Thank you for tuning in. Please remember to subscribe, like, comment and share. See you next week for the next installment of Hope and Passion.